Hi everyone, and welcome for this new episode of AI for Devs, the podcast about AI-driven development. Today we're going to talk about MCP servers and how to connect to a lot of MCP servers while still staying in your IDE and using your AI-driven development tool of choice. Can be Copilot, can be Claude Code, can be Cursor, and so on. So today we're going to have Kevin Aubry. Kevin is the CTO of Palo IT in Singapore, and he is one of the people I know who knows the best AI-driven development tools. He's been very early stage. He's been using it like on a daily basis for the past 2 years, and he tried a bit of everything. So today he will give his feedback about MCP servers, and in particular, we're going to focus on 4 specific MCP servers. So the first one will be while staying into my IDE, connecting on GitHub in order to actually get the user stories. So going to GitHub issues and getting the user stories from there without having to browse into in my web browser on GitHub. Okay, right, really staying in the IDE. Then we're going to talk about Figma. Imagine you have a designer who prepared the design for you and that you need to implement it. How to get, for example, GitHub Copilot to connect to Figma, get the design, bring it back into the context, and then implement the feature according to the design. And lastly, we will see like 2 more specific MCP servers. One is called Context7, which allows you to work with the very, very latest version of whatever library you want, okay, even if it was released yesterday. Okay, so we will see how this is possible. And lastly, we will talk about Playwright, which is a tool for automated functional testing. And we will see how we can ask Copilot or Claude Code to actually, while still being prompting, you can actually ask it to connect to the web browser, run your automated functional testing, get the results, and make sure that it didn't break anything. Okay, so let's start.
The main thing I'm going to use today is like MCP, the tools within MCP, which is basically like functions. We need those MCPs, and that allows you most of the time to connect to a service outside. So here, what I have developed locally. It's a quick demo application that I've done yesterday night, and this is just a music dashboard that basically connect to Spotify. So using your token and your user. So this is like welcome Kevin Aubry, which is me. So just to show that at least I have this connection up and ready. It's a Next.js application. So you can see this is basically my application running and running the code of my application. And what I want to show you is I would like to implement this user story. So this user story, in that case, it's on GitHub, but it can be on Jira or on Trello or on any other project management tool that you have, as long as you have an MCP that's developed for it. And this basically say that I want to display the top 10 Spotify songs of my user. And this story is quite extensive, so that's usually quite a standard format. As a Spotify user, I want to see my top 10 most played songs so that I can discover my music. And then that explain the core user experience flow, the detailed requirements, visual requirements. And as well, you can see there's a link to a Figma component. So if I click on it, you will see it links to this component over here that's loading. And I want it to look something like this. So I don't want exactly, because I don't want, the play buttons and so on, but I want to have a similar layout and look and feel. So that's why I gave this link as a reference. Then I have some acceptance criteria. I've been very standard to a user story and what's not in the scope for this one. So how I approach this. So I'm gonna go in my VS Code. And here, I did prepare a prompt already, so I don't have to type, but I'm gonna walk you through the prompt. So I'm gonna use Claude Sonnet 4 and ensure that I do have my MCP server already available. So on VS Code, you can click on this small icon over here, and here you can see all the different tools that you have available. So all the built-in that comes with GitHub Copilot. And here are all the MCP servers that I have already configured on my machine. So I have the Figma MCP servers, which allow me to connect to Figma. I have the GitHub MCP servers that allow me to connect to GitHub, to read issues, to raise pull requests, and do many other things. Here I have the Playwright MCP to be able to run tests, and Context7 that I'm going to explain a bit later. So let me just maybe start the prompt so that I can explain what it's working. So what this does, you can see I want to work on this issue. So that's the link for the issue. And then in VS Code, what I like about VS Code compared to others, you can directly do a hash, and then here give the MCP server you want to use. So in that case, GitHub MCP server, and that will in a way force the agent, okay, that's the tool set or the tools from the MCP that I want to use, which is what I like very much about GitHub Copilot. So here I can say use GitHub MCP server to retrieve the user story. And assign the issue to me. So first I want it to assign it to me. So here you can see it's already running. So if I go now on GitHub, you can see now it's assigned to me. So I haven't done anything. Basically the MCP server knows it's me and has assigned this to basically my user. So in Jira, you can think about even moving it to in progress or to a different status, to add a comment, and that's basically up to you and the prompt that you're telling him to do. Then what I'm saying is I want him to read the user story and to implement a plan. So I want him to do a plan in a todo.markdown.md so that then I will use that plan to implement the code. So personally, I like to go from not just a prompt to the code directly. I like the agent to create a plan that at least I can review and ensure that's exactly what I want. But in order to do this, I'm asking the agent as well to use this Context7 MCP. That's something that I really, really love. And I'm sure that for some of you that don't know about it, let me show you about Context7. So here, Context7, you have this website called context7.com, and they have the MCP server. It's like an up-to-date documentation for LLMs. So the issue with most of the agent and most of the models, if you want to work with let's say the latest React framework, or let's say the latest features from Java or from Tailwind, they don't know about it because the models are trained on data that are like maybe 6 months or 1 year old. So this Context7 provides documentation that is optimized for LLMs, so that they know about the latest features in the different frameworks. So for example, let's say I was talking about React, so I can just React over here. And you can see I have all the different documentation about React 16, 17, and so on. And you can see when was it updated. So this is the latest one about 1 day ago. You can click on it, and you can see as well over here the documentation that is in a very specific format for the large language model, which basically gives the agent all the information he needs, the technical documentation to know how to implement that features. In my case, I'm asking him to use this because I'm leveraging this SDK, which is the Spotify Web API TypeScript SDK, which some model might not be aware of, or they might have maybe not the latest version. So my goal here is to ask the agent to use Context7 to read the information about this SDK so that he knows which function to call and how to call them. So
maybe Kevin, just a
yes.
question on this. So to make sure I understand properly about Context7, what you're saying is basically thanks to it, I can actually instruct the LLM to generate my React code exactly in the version of React which I'm using, right? If I'm using the one from last week, it will be able to generate using the latest syntax. But if I'm using one from 3 years ago, I can also specify the version of React from 3 years ago and will generate accordingly. Is that correct?
That's correct. So we can see here, if I go into the chat, the agent that was running, here you can see he has run the different MCP servers. And the first one, you can see now, let me gather information about Spotify SDK. And if you open this and you see really what he has triggered, the input is the library name. And then you will basically look at the information about the latest one. But in that case, I want the latest one. But in your case that you mentioned, if there is multiple version available, there's a concept of versioning. So we'll pick the right version for you based on what you're using in the code. Usually I use this whenever I want to integrate with a new library. So I want to consume a new library or add it into my project, or when I want to set up like the foundations, like I want to set up instructions or rules for my model. I'm going to use Context7 to get the latest best practice and recommendation from those different frameworks. So here, if I continue about what is happening, we can see he has basically consumed Context7, and then I'm asking him to use Figma. So again, the Figma MCP, to read the Figma component and understand how the design should look like. So again, here you can see, without me doing anything, he has run basically the get Figma data and connected to Figma, read the components that I gave the link in the story, and analyze it about the structure, the color, the spacing, the layout, and so on, so that is able then to create the plan for me. So now I have my to-do.markdown that has been created. But if I summarize a bit what happened here, my agent has connected to GitHub, has read the story, has assigned the story to my user. Then from the story, it has checked what library you need to use, in that case, the Spotify TypeScript SDK, connected to Context7 by itself, read all the information about this library documentation and how it should be integrated and implemented following the best practice that they recommend from the documentation, and then has read the Figma components to see how, from a visual standpoint, I want to implement basically this story. And with all this information that now he has gathered, he has created for me a plan that looks like this. So here I just told him, okay, create a plan that I can give then to a coding agent to implement the code. And here is giving me an overview about the different tasks that he needs to implement, about this in the Spotify Web SDK, and he has basically giving me all the different information that he has over here. I can see that here he's telling me that he needs to install the SDK. I know I already have it. So that's sometimes what happens with LLM. You don't want to trust whatever they give you. You always want to verify that they have the right information and don't just accept them blindly. I think that's something very, very important that we have to be mindful about. So I'm just going to tell him, I already have the library installed. Please check and update the plan accordingly. So here's just going to check again and update the plan based on my feedback. That's basically about how I use the MCP, from going from all this different information to especially retrieve all this into my local repository to create a plan that then I'm going to give to other Copilot or any other agent. Lately, I've been playing a bit with Claude Code, which I feel is quite fast and is quite good. So still a bit playing with it and discovering. So usually I can use, in that case, GitHub Copilot in VS Code, create that plan, and from the plan, I just give the plan to Claude Code to then execute it. But you could give it to GitHub Copilot, change the models, and basically up to you and which tool you want to use. Today, most of them use MCPs, and they just have a very different way sometimes to install them. In that case, VS Code has different ways. If you want to install MCP, that's quite interesting. You can go now on the marketplace. So you can click on the extension. And now they have these MCP servers at the bottom. You can see the one that are already installed on your machine. And if you want to explore more MCP servers, you can just click on this icon over here. And that open like a browser. And that's maintained by GitHub with MCP registries. And then you can just search for the one that you want. So you can see Context7, GitHub, Playwright, the one I use. They have the Figma, they have Notions, Stripe, Azure DevOps. There's really so many today, and you can even develop your own if you want to. So I invite you as well to be curious and try them and see how that works for you. I think my to-do is almost done at the moment. We can see that now he has checked the current state, which he didn't earlier. So now we can see that he has done the different updates to the plan. He's doing the update at the moment. So I'm just going to wait a little bit for it to be done. And then I'm going to give that to Claude Code to implement my story.
Maybe, Kevin, just a question in the meantime. Out of curiosity, okay, so if I'm correct, to do the MD is the plan, and then later we're going to use this plan to do the implementation. This to do the MD, like in a real life project, would you keep it on the project? Would you commit it to Git, or you will just delete it after the task is completed?
That's a good question. I think it depends on the team. Some team they like to keep it for documentation and so on. For me, it really depends. Sometimes what I want to do is maybe do a summary and upload it as a comment to the issue or to Jira, or to just say, okay, this is what we've done, but maybe not as detailed as it is. Like for example, here, if I open it and scroll down a little bit, so let me close this down. If I scroll down a little bit, I might not want to have all the different coding examples as part of my comments and keep that into my documentation. So if I want maybe to do a clean version that's more like documentation about how it was done. For my personal project, I don't. I just like to have a plan of what is currently being done, and then I gonna overwrite it over and over. But in some of the projects with clients, we can keep them in the project or on Jira or on GitHub.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we can see that is done. So I'm going to keep the change. And now I'm just going to give it to Claude Code, which is over here. Let me zoom in a little bit. So Claude Code is something is from a more terminal base that has different kind of features. And what you do here is connected to my Visual Studio Code. So it's very well integrated. And then I'm going to say, follow the plan. And I can just say to do here and implement it accurately. Just this, nothing else. And then I'm just going to give it like this. And in theory, if everything goes well, it should follow the plan and basically implement the code according to the plan. In that phase, I don't really need MCPs because I used MCP for retrieving the information. There's a couple of MCPs that I haven't really tried. I know there's one that is called like sequential thinking that really help into the agent to go in a more step-by-step approach. I don't know how relevant it is today because most of the agents today, like Claude Code, they do have now like a kind of a to-do list, some kind of a to-do list that they follow internally. And even VS Code, if I go to my VS Code Copilot, now they recently added this to-do over here, you can see. So I don't know about how those MCPs for execution are needed anymore, but that's maybe up to you and maybe the version you're using, the tool you're using, but there's lots of MCPs as well that can help in the coding aspect. Another one that if you have like multiple agents, there's MCP that helps you sharing the context. Because if you have many agents, the issue is that they might not share the information between them. There are MCP that exist that allow the MCP to share the information between them. So some kind of like a shared memories. That's something I haven't tried. I just read about it. But that's depending on your workflow and your ways of working. That could be quite interesting to explore as well on those fronts.
Sounds good, Kevin. And maybe we can add as well that if I'm correct, so you started the demo using GitHub Copilot. Now you're switching to Claude Code, but if you, it's just a way to show us two different tools. But if you wanted, you could have done everything in Copilot, right?
Yes, of course. I could have done exactly the same here. I could have created like a new chat window and execute the to-do MD over here, and basically the exact same instructions. And then I could choose like a different model. I can go with like Grok or GPT-5 Mini and so on. I just noticed recently I tried to play a bit around with Claude Code, which I find quite interesting because I feel it's a bit faster in terms of code implementation, but I prefer the way GitHub Copilot today handle the MCPs and connection and how you can really work on those plans. So I think today, like some tools are all the tools are quite advanced, but it's more about how you use them and maybe just a mix of the different tools. you don't have to stick to one, at least for your personal project. At work might be different, because at work some tools might be better suited for enterprise than others, and maybe some company don't allow to use like 10 different tools. But I think that the world is like the landscape is evolving so fast now. I think it's good to still keep an eye on different tools and experiment with them. And to be frank, what I observed now is that when one of them like release the features, it's very fast that the others are just catching up with it, and they just release the features a few weeks after that, if not at the same time. Let's see now where my Claude Code is. Okay, seems it's done. Let's see the features implemented if everything goes well. So we can see that now. Oh, sorry. I guess my application has stopped. Let me restart it. Yep, because it has done a build. So let me restart it. npm dev running locally. So let me restart it. And if everything goes well, finger crossed. Okay, loading. And we can see now I have my top list of songs, top 10, that basically follow as well my user story. And if I look at my Figma, it looks very similar in the way the colors, as well the round shape of the image, as well the number over here. So it really follows what I have, and as well follow my user stories over here. So basically, that's what I wanted to demo today. The next step as well, what could show as well, or we can go through, you can use Playwright to automate the test. So once you have done this, you could potentially just go into, again, by VS Code, because it's good implementation of how basically they implement what's happening here. Okay, no, what's happening here? Okay, so one thing I could do as well is, if we want to go for the testing part, there's something I like about Playwright. So Playwright MCP is, so Playwright is a bit the new Selenium, I would say. And I could give basically, again, the user story. So I want to ensure that I have my right MCP server connected. So I'm going to disable Figma. I'm going to disable Context7. I don't need those. I'm going to say, okay, I have now my user story over here. And I can say, here is my user story on GitHub. Use, and here my GitHub MCP server to retrieve the acceptance criteria and test them using Playwright. So here I can say my Playwright MCP. Test them using Playwright. Application is running on localhost 3000. Okay, and then I'm just gonna run this, and let's see what, hopefully my prompt is decent enough. And in theory, if everything goes well, here is gonna use the MCP server again to connect to GitHub. He's gonna basically read the issue, again, same as before, extract the acceptance criteria, and then he's gonna use Playwright to test this on my machine locally, to ensure that everything has been completed properly and give me ideally a report. I could have done in the prompt to tell him, okay, how I want the report to be, give him a template or something a bit more precise about it. But just for the demo, I'm just gonna let it run like that for you to see basically the flow that you could use. So that's more on the, after the coding, you can leverage MCP to really use Playwright to test the features for you, give you a report, and you can even think about automating this in a way in the pipeline or to do some kind of other testing. That's something possible too. Oh, it's writing on the wrong screen over here. So here basically, sorry, it just popped on the other screen, but here what it's doing is it has opened a browser, and now basically is exploring the application and running. You can see the different tests. You can see the page is loading. Let me wait for it to fully load. Then it's got taking snapshot as well. Now you can see that the user is currently authenticated. So basically it's running now tests for me. You can see that he has clicked on the logout button, but the page now is a loading state. So you can see basically testing the application for you, and most likely it might break something because I haven't really reviewed the code or anything, but that basically is going to review and give you a report at the end of what's working and what's not working according to the user story. And then if everything goes well, I can say, okay, now you can mark the user story as done, raise a pull request for me with following a PR template, and then you don't leave VS Code anymore, and it does everything for you out there. And that's, in a way, a bit the magic of the MCP today, provided you configure them and you have the right prompt as well.
Just one question. Is it generating the Playwright files in the project? I cannot see them.
No, it's not. So basically, here what's happening is just using Playwright runner, in a way, to control your browser. And basically, he has like multiple functions. So if I click on it, you can see here all the tools that Playwright provides. So here he has all these tools available. So browser drag, sorry, he's now continuing the test. Evaluate, he can upload file, fill up a form, handle dialogue, over, install, navigate. He has all these actions to control the browser, even taking screenshot. And then you can basically ask him to run the test and even automate your reports and so on. This doesn't need to create any test. He can generate JavaScript on the fly. You can see over here, if I see over here, he has done some JavaScript evaluation. So sometimes to clear the local storage and so on, he can create JavaScript that run in a sandbox locally to control a bit more advanced action. What you can do though, is once he has done this, you can ask him to generate the Playwright test as a code to then automate it. But that's a very good shot first to just ensure that your story has been completed properly. And you can see here as well, all the screenshot that he has taken one screenshot. You can see he has taken a screenshot to prove to me that it's working very well. So that's the Playwright MCP for you.
So it's a bit like a QA engineer doing manual QA for your application.
Exactly, yes. And again, depending on the prompt and the instructions, you can as well ask him to do maybe exploratory test, or you can really follow all the AC one by one. There's different way to approach it. But as well, again, I really encourage you to play with it and really try the different possibility you can do with those MCP. Honestly, this is very, very powerful once you understand how to leverage those.
Okay, cool.
So in a way, that's here's just going to give me a report, and it shows, you can see, okay, there's a couple of reports, not sure what he's saying here, but that will be then to analyze it. But that's basically what I wanted to show you today, how we went from a user story, leveraging Figma, Context7, GitHub to assign the story to me, even like up to testing the user story, implementing, fully leveraging agent and a couple of MCPs that I use on a daily basis that really allow to accelerate the flow quite high. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share tonight about the MCPs.
Thank you, Kevin. Maybe just one question. So here your demo focused a lot on the MCP servers, so that's really the thing we wanted to show. So we didn't look at the code at all. We did a bit like vibe coding style, where we trust Claude Code in whatever was generated. I guess on a real life project, we wouldn't do it like this, but we will still review the code cautiously, making sure it's well written.
That's 100%. So whatever I say is like, here I was more like, okay, vibe coding totally to show the different MCP and how we can accelerate. But what I will do in real life is I will review the plan, this plan, and spend more time on it to ensure this is really what I want. And then I will potentially execute the plan, maybe not everything, but maybe some section by section, so that then I can review and ensure that everything is done according to what I want. I think something that is very important, and thank you for mentioning it, is you still own the code. You are responsible to ship this code in production. You cannot blame the AI or Copilot or Claude or anyone or any agent that it's their fault that they didn't do the proper code and so on. At the end, you're still responsible for it. I like sometimes to give a bit the analogy of, I've been coding for a long time, and the first there was like the books for Java, and then Stack Overflow came, and you can search a function and like, okay, Stack Overflow, this is how you do it, copy and paste. And then if it doesn't work, I don't blame Stack Overflow. It's me who copied and pasted there and responsible for it. Same for AI. It's a bit a new Stack Overflow in a way that basically provide you the code way faster, but it's still your responsibility to review it.
Okay, that sounds very good. And I think it was a great demo.
Very happy to, yeah. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, thank you, and good night.